Kris, Triple Sun Spirits. I wanted to talk to you guys today about gauging proof and quality control during the bottling process. One of the most important things that any manufacturer is going to do is to make sure that the products that they produce are consistent. It's good for the consumer, it's good for the regulatory agencies, it's just good for business. So one of the things that we do is called AQL testing, otherwise known as acceptable quality limits. An acceptable quality limit for bottling spirit is plus or minus 2% of the volume when you're doing a 1 liter fill, for example. So if you guys know at home, a 1 liter fill of 80 proof vodka should weigh 949 grams. 2% of that is a little over 18 grams, plus or minus. So as long as we're plus or minus that 2%, we're in good shape. Obviously, the federal government and everybody knows that there's some inconsistencies when glass is being blown or plastic bottles are being made, where the thickness of the walls of the glass or the bottle can ultimately vary from one batch to the next, and so we have a little bit of wiggle room, and that is our acceptable quality limit, right? What is good, what is not good. One of the cool things about whiskey systems, hey whiskey systems, plug in, is that they know that that AQL is a part of what we're doing, and so we have fill-in proof checks on our documentation. And so one of the things that you do with AQL testing is you consider the fact that statistically, when problems occur, they generally tend to group. You know, a machine breaks down, all the problems are gonna happen then in time, not be spread out randomly. So as we're filling, we don't have to sample every single unit that comes off of the line. We only have to do it periodically. And with the runs that we're doing, 4 quality checks is enough for us to get a good gauge on 120 bottles or a 10 case run. So if I was running 10 cases, 4 checks, more than enough. Let's say it takes me an hour of doing this manually, it doesn't take that long, but if it did take an hour, it would be about 15 minutes. Every 15 minutes we would do one. So we do one up front at the beginning, then 15 or 20 minutes later we do another one, 15 or 20 minutes later we do another one of those, and we keep doing that 4 times until we have an idea of periodically what things are looking like. Now, if you have a filler like this, you know, it's open to the atmosphere, there could be off-gassing of liquor. The temperature could fluctuate, so if the temperature goes up, volume does not translate to the total number of grams, so you may end up having a lighter fill because your volume increases. Your filler shuts off early, and even though when it cools down, it'll shrink, and it'll look like there's less in the bottle, that's why we want to weigh. Right? Because weight doesn't change with volumetric changes. So I have a scale here, and I'm going to pretend that we're in the middle of the run. I've pulled this bottle, it's full, right? But because I didn't weigh it first, I don't know what the tare weight is, so I'm going to get a gross weight first. We're going to take that gross weight and we're going to either write it down on our notepad or we're going to put it into our calculator. Whiskey Systems has a calculator. You can use this to calculate proof and things like that. So I have 1,475 gram fill on here. I use grams. We're going to take this and we're actually going to now empty it into our cylinder because we're going to check the proof as well. Remember to leave yourself some room. I have this blue collar on here to help me to remind myself that I need to give myself some room for displacement. And then we're going to use a 75-95 because our proof check is 480. Don't forget to do your little up and down, get rid of some air bubbles, acclimate the temperature of the hydrometer, equalize it with the temperature of your vodka or whatever your spirit is, and also the graduated cylinder that you're holding it in. Remember, our hydrometers have to be calibrated, certified. Same thing with our thermometers. So I put my thermometer in there and I'm going to let it do its thing. You're going to notice the temperature is going to change as it acclimates itself to the ambient liquid. I do a 10-second count on fluctuations. So if the temperature reading changes in any direction, I reset my count to 10. If I get to 10 and the number hasn't changed, the thermometer reading hasn't changed, I check proof and I jot those numbers down. So temperature and proof on your hydrometer try and get them together as close in time, those readings as close in time as you can. I'm also going to finish dumping the rest of this out of here while I'm sitting so that I have an empty bottle to get tare weight on. Remember, 1,475 grams was our gross weight. Our bottle weighs 532 grams. So I'm going to subtract 532, and we have 943. Remember, I said before, a true full fill on 1 liter at 80 proof is 949 grams. We are off by 6 grams, well within our AQL limit of 18 grams. So this bottle is good to go. That means that that nozzle is still filling properly. We have a stabilized temperature of 77.5 degrees. 77.5 degrees and a hydrometer reading of 87.6. 87.6. So if we go to our Whiskey Systems calculator, just give me a sec. 87.6 degrees proof at 77.5 degrees Fahrenheit, and our proof is 80 proof. Perfect. So now we know that our alcohol is still within spec, our bottle fills are within spec, and now you understand what fill checks and proof checks for AQL purposes are.